Okay. It's weird to see yourself in the mirror. I try not to mess with my hair, but it's like you see yourself and you're like, Rainier really wants me to hold him, but I was trying to make breakfast, so now he's throwing a temper tantrum, and I don't want to give into it, but it's really hard not to by just picking him up.
If I pick him up, he was screaming his brains out too. It's actually a little bit chillier. While the coffee is being made, I wanted to try and process what's happening inside of me. There's so much pressure with a vlog to get stuck in these ruts, and it lends itself towards positivity. It's pretty chaotic in there now with the baby, and just, I don't know, if you can see, like, the house is actually really a wreck. Last night I had a hard time kind of falling asleep. I was just like up late. I got some news, which was hard news for me to receive from a friend, and it just made me feel like a failure. It made me feel like how I've spent the last 5 years has failed, and in one sense I actually believe that. I believe, you know, we made bad choices. And then in another sense, I'm trying to hang on to this thought, like, we did do the best we can, and God is faithful, and He made us grow, and there's no other choice we could have made given what we knew at the time. So I'm choosing not to kind of like feel guilt or regret, but it's hard to balance those two things. It can be really paralyzing thinking about all this stuff from the past and trying to make sense of it all. But one thought of reflection that hit me is that there are so many things that we have poured our lives into that have been all for naught. And when I say all for naught, I don't, like, we grew through it, but we weren't building the thing that we thought was important. As we look back now, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, the things that we have made huge sacrifices for, huge investments into, I'm like, oh, what was that all about? And I won't call it a waste, but if I could go back in time and tell myself what I know now, I would say, these things are fleeting. Most of these things that we think are so important, we view ourselves as so special and so necessary to people or God's plan or whatever, you know, phrase people use. You know, it's a vapor, it's a smoke screen, it's a projection, it's an image, it's not real. It's making me think of like what really, really, really does matter.
Tired. I know the fella. Bring him in while I was in the jailhouse. Been trying to start a union. Got one started. And then the vigilantes busted up. Ben and I are meeting this morning because yesterday we tried to meet, but it wasn't very productive.
No, sit down.
We have more stuff that we need to talk through.
We just wrapped up our business meeting, leftover meeting. We got a comment to a video this week that I really liked. It was politely challenging. I don't mind a little less polite, but I like the challenge. It's from Plant-Based Large Family, and she wrote, I think it's a she.
Yeah.
I hesitate to say this because your marriage is your marriage, but since you make me think all the time, I thought I would mention one observation that may make you think. Though it may be something you are already aware of, being that it is your marriage. Disclaimer, disclaimer. Anyway, I have noticed that every time there is a disagreement, Ben gets his way. I believe submission is biblical, but these are disagreements about preferences, not big decisions. Like where to go out to eat, or whether or not you smoke cigars together, whether you wake a sick baby to eat ice cream, or to wait one more night. I knew how this was going to come across in the vlog, but there's a lot of editing that goes into things that you don't see. And on this particular night that you're talking about, Cami wanted to go to Olive Garden. I said that was a terrible idea or something, so we ended up in the vlog going to sushi. What we didn't show is that I, numerous times after that, said, Cami, you want to go to Olive Garden? Let's go. Like, I'll take you. This would be great. You know, I don't mind doing this. It doesn't make sense to me, but let's go. But then she said, no, I don't really want to do that after all.
I heard him out and yeah, had to think through that more. And actually me even saying, I want to go to Olive Garden is a big deal for me to say that in our marriage.
But point number 2 is that yes, you are absolutely right. The dynamic of our particular relationship and our marriage is that I get my way most of the time. At least in one sense. And I think that's what I wanted to take some time to talk about. Because we've actually learned a lot about that. And whatever you're seeing now, if this is any consolation to you, it's a consolation to us. Just know, either we're 10 times better now or it was 10 times worse before. And I agree, a lot of the things are preferences. So in that way, I don't think the biblical concept of submission really applies. Like, we believe in that too, actually, but I don't think you can just toss everything in that category. So I like how you point that out.
I don't know where to put this, but like Ben getting his way is actually a lot of times me getting my way. Now, what do I mean by that? What is most important to me is not my preferences, but it's pleasing him. I have found that that is deep down in me. I think as I've gotten healthier, I'm realizing I have preferences. Oh, I have opinions. It's still more important for me for him to get his way. And I want to say that because it's not just him getting his way. Like, this is a dynamic, so it's not just him bullying me to get his way.
Sometimes that's really nice, because in the immediate sense, who doesn't want to get their own way? And I like getting my own way. In the long-term sense, we've come to believe that that's really destructive to me and to the relationship, for her to constantly be trying to please me, or just for me to get my own way, whether it's through force.
And it's destructive for me, too. Yeah.
Manipulation. She's quieter, and what her beliefs are a little bit more softer. It's just as valuable as mine. And that might sound like a silly thing to confess, but I didn't know that for most of our marriage. And I think we were kind of in agreement. Cami wasn't as good as math. She wasn't outspoken. So she kind of acted, and we kind of thought she was like dumber or not as smart, just because she wasn't articulate in the same way I was. I don't believe that at all anymore. I think she is, there's a lot of ways I will absolutely admit she is way smarter than me, and the hugest asset I could ever find or imagine. And then the second thing for me quieting down is she's learned, I think, to like speak up or talk louder.
And to take that risk. And it may mean that we end up not going to Olive Garden, even though I said, I really want to go to Olive Garden, or I really want to smoke. It may mean that we may not smoke, but I need to take that risk to say, hey, this is my preference. Okay, let's talk about it now and decide together what the best thing is.
So now I think that the best thing for our relationship is for us to each have a voice into it. I think my voice is important, but I also think her voice is important. And when I'm not speaking up or listening, I'm compromising the relationship. And when she's not speaking up, there's different ways we can each compromise the power of the relationship. And this is really important, you guys, because it's so easy to just paint one side as a villain. And I know that you're not doing this in the comment, but even with our kids, there's gonna be some kids that are like really strong-willed or aggressive or more vocal. And there's other kids that are quieter. And I think it's easy with our kids to see, oh, that kid's really smart or aggressive or a bully, and that
or
kid's
the other
kind
kid's
of
really sweet and
yeah, but it's not that simple.
Yeah, it's not that simple.
So with 2 of our kids in particular, we're constantly encouraging one to listen more, and we're trying to help her develop that listening skill and to speak more softly. But with another kid, that message doesn't work. It doesn't teach the same thing because the symptoms are different of the same hard issue. We're saying, hey, courage for you and obedience or faith for you is to actually speak up and to be more loud and to make your voice heard because you're worth it.
And courage for the other one is, hey, slow down a little bit. Just listen. It's okay. You don't have to.
Today, Cami came to me with an idea. I think that was sparked from your speaking experience yesterday, where you said to me, hey, yesterday I had this Q&A session with the ladies, and because you weren't there, I found myself speaking up a bunch. She was like, I think I should do the Q&A.
I was like, oh, I can be articulate. Oh.
And I was like, that's great. I mean, a lot of times I'm just trying to get the Cami in front of the camera, but she doesn't actually want to speak, or she's not as inspired.
Or it's just harder for me in our dynamic to speak up because I know he might be like, hey, Cami, hurry up, or hey, Cami, do this. And we can just point the finger at Ben and say, Ben, stop doing that. But that's also me being persuaded by him to act a certain way.
So today's Q&A session is just Cami.
7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
You'll never have the sacred stone.
Oh, this you crazy mother.
On Facebook, Ashley asks for advice dealing with 2 toddlers fighting, not sharing. One thing that we do is we sit them on the stairs and have them hold hands and sit them there for 5 minutes, maybe how long it takes for them to stop fighting. Tantrum is a hard thing. But all kids go through them. In fact, Rainier had one this morning, and I try not to give into it. So he was screaming and wanted me to hold him. And while he's screaming, I try not to pick him up because I think that reinforces, hey, it's okay for you to do this. But after he's done, then I pick him up. Amy asks, Cami, do you feel like you're pursuing the things that God has put on your heart for you to walk in at this time of your life? What are your dreams and desires? I feel like I'm pursuing what I was made for. Being a mom, being a wife, being a friend, having adventure in our life, pursuing God in a lot of cool ways, pursuing my love of music, learning how to play the guitar, teaching my kids. Most of my dreams and desires, if not all of them, are being fulfilled. OMG Meg asks, on the vlog, we don't see much of you hanging out with other women or moms. Do you have a community of women you spend time with? I wouldn't describe it as a community of women, because to me that seems like there's a lot of people, but I have a few friends that I feel like I could go out for coffee with, have a good time talking, work through stuff with. And Jutsi asks, I have 3 young children. They love books. What are your top 3 favorite kid books? Chronicles of Narnia. And then I forget the author's name, but there's these books that kids love and adults love, and they're a pig and an elephant, and like one of the books we have is called We Are in a Book, and they're super creative and fun to read. Heather Q asks, you're doing all this stuff, guitar, voice, ballet. Are there any projects or things you want to learn or do that you haven't started working on yet? Something that you are putting off till someday? We stopped doing ballet, by the way. The lessons were just too sporadic for us. and there wasn't a ton of energy there to keep up with that. I don't really feel like there's a lot that I'm putting off. One of the main things that I feel like I was created for was to sing and to play the guitar, and I'm doing that, but I haven't always done that. I started lessons 4 years ago. So yeah, I was like 33 when I started learning how to play the guitar. I probably was putting that off, and I'm glad I did that when I did. Something I've thought about in the future, just because it doesn't feel right to do it now, is being a midwife or more of an official like doula, someone who helps people birth. The cool thing about that is I'm able to do a lot of that doula stuff now. People have asked me a lot to be at their births, and that's been super special. Furu Campos asks, what is your favorite part about traveling? I think it's just really, really cool to see how other people live. When you're only in your own country or like your own city even, you realize that you're kind of in a bubble and people do a lot of different things, and it's not always, the way you do it isn't always the right way. Clover Dilly Girl asks, if and when you have a rough day with the kids, do you get down? If so, what do you do to pick yourself back up? Yes, I am human, and I definitely get down or sad or frustrated at times. I feel like I either take a nap, even if it's just 20 minutes. I think a lot of times when I get down, a lot of times I'm tired. So I take a nap, and that helps. Or I have, my favorite thing now is Moscato wine. I love it. Ben and I will smoke a cigar sometimes. If it's during the day, I will spend some time alone. LL Spangler asks, interested in knowing how you worked out involving Ben's parents in your daily routine and schedule. Did that take time? Were they on board from the beginning? We would like to find a way to do this more. It definitely took some evolving. When they first moved here, I feel like we were trying to like feel things out and feel like, should we do meals together? How many meals should we do together? Now we do 2, sometimes 3 a week. And another really cool way that they help out is Ben's mom teaches the kids science and teaches Filia how to read right now, which is super, super cool. Andrea and company asks, do you want another tattoo? And if so, what would you get? I do want another tattoo. I know where I want it. I actually don't know what I would get, which is, I think, more what's hindering me from getting it, because you need to know what you're gonna get. But I want one on this side. I feel like that would kind of balance me out a little bit. Redrock 187 asks, do you want any more children? Yes, I want more kids. Ismalandi asks, in regards to Fit for Together, other than the contract, what are some ways to keep motivated and stay on track? I think what helps us stay on track the most is doing it together. I think even if it was just, I find sometimes even if it's just 2 people, it's harder to stay on it. But there's a momentum that's built when there's a group of people.
Breathe out, come on. We're getting ready for the team workout.
In a little bit, Ben gets home from racquetball, and then we're gonna go on a date.
It is date night tonight. I am taking Cammy out to a really nice meal because we have had a really hard day. I'm just looking forward to spending some time with her and going out and enjoying some nice food.